Good afternoon, everyone.
There we go. Thumbs up over there, thumbs up over there. Okay. We're going to call the 4:30 Community Investment Committee meeting to order. Councilmember White,
Present.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers, Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Present.
I have Citizen Member Kanajeski,
Present.
Citizen Member Gripe.
Present.
Do I miss anybody else? We got a quorum, so we're going to get started. And we're going to start with Bill 2527, resolution to approve the issuance of a scrap metal license for Alternative 2 LLC. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Michelle Adams, the Department of Community Investment on the 14th floor. And I am here today to ask the Common Council to approve the resolution for a scrap metal dealer license. A renewal application was received from Alternative 2 LLC located at 700 West Chippewa Avenue. Per the ordinance, section 4-51 of the South Bend Municipal Code, I submitted the application to the South Bend Police Department, the Fire Department, and Neighborhood Resources, as well as the Zoning Department for their review and recommendation. The property was inspected by the following departments and found to be in compliance with all of the requirements. The code inspector, which determines whether such premises are fit and proper for the maintenance and operation of such a business. They verify that the fencing is in good condition. This was done by the code inspector as well as zoning. They'll check to see if there's any litter or debris around the exterior part of the business. They want to make sure that all the vehicles are properly parked, not illegally, and that there are no environmental issues. South Bend Fire Department, they determine whether such premises are fit and proper for the maintenance and operation of such a business. They ensure there are no combustible materials and all inflammable materials must not be stored on the premises. Storerooms and garages must be free from rubbish, waste materials, old rags, and paper. They must have the proper number of fire extinguishers that must be near areas within such scrap or junkyards. They ensure that waste oil containers are double lined or have secondary containment with some sort of berm around the tanks to keep them from being hit by vehicles. All welding and cutting must be set up away from the oil storage area and other combustibles. The zoning department verifies the use of the property is allowed, and it was determined that the property is considered legal non-conforming. There were also no active environmental violations. South Bend Police Department investigates the applicant and makes a recommendation as to whether the license should be granted. They consider the criminal history, if any, and the likelihood that granting the license will endanger the health, safety, or welfare of the public. They ensure applicants do not have any warrants, verify the applicant is not involved in any criminal investigations, and they must electronically report their daily activities and must have surveillance. All of the above reviewing agencies found the property to be compliant and recommend the license be issued. Because the applicant has met all the requirements of the ordinance, the attached resolution respectfully submitted for your consideration.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have an initial question. So when we say there's no environmental violations going on, is that, and that include both IDEM, the state, and federal EPA violations? Are we aware of that?
I'm sorry, it would be IDEM.
Okay, thank you.
They're verified.
Committee members, any questions? Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
You say it was located at again?
Sure, it is 700 West Chippewa Avenue.
And that's not in no residential area or nothing, is it?
No, it's zoned industrial.
Okay, that's fine. Because I didn't see it in here. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Bolden Rogers.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just wondering, you talked about that you do the background check for the owner. What if they acquire a felony afterwards? How is that? Or some type of,
After the initial
yeah,
investigation,
after the investigation, how is that tracked?
they do not do periodic backgrounds throughout the year, so that would probably come up during the renewal period the following year.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember White.
Thank you, Chair. This is a renewal.
Yes.
Application. And so, would this have been part of the early ones that we had?
This one was still waiting on a fire department inspection, so it's separate from the ones that were approved
Okay.
previously.
Okay. And you didn't see any difficulties at all?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Do we expect any more renewals to come?
I believe this is
This
the
is
last one.
Okay, okay. Any other committee members with questions? Seeing none, any council members in person, online with questions? Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak on Bill 2527, either in person or online?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak on the bills.
Thank you. With that, I'll bring it back to the committee members. Any comments or an action? Have a motion?
Oh, I move to send resolution 2527. Does that go to committee of the whole or to the
Resolutions go to the full council.
full council?
Okay.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Clerk Torado, can you please do a roll call for a favorable recommendation?
Committee Member Good Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Citizen Member Kane Kujeski,
Aye.
Citizen Member Thomas Gripe,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
6 ayes.
The bill will go forward to 7 p.m. for the favorable recommendation. Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to Bill number 2528, resolution approving the issuance of a tax incremental revenue bonds to support residential housing development. Good afternoon, Mr. Bauer.
Good afternoon, committee members. Caleb Bauer, Executive Director of Community Investment, offices on the 14th floor of this building. Before you today is Resolution 2528, which is a request for authorization to issue bonds related to the state of Indiana's Residential Infrastructure Fund loan program. And if I can get my slides to advance, I will explain that. There we go. Excuse me. So this is unlike a typical bond issuance where the city of South Bend, for example, in the past, we've issued redevelopment bonds, which use tax increment financing revenues to fund a bond issuance that goes out on the bond market, and we're seeking buyers. In this case, this would actually be a bond issued by the state of Indiana through the Indiana Finance Authority. So the state's last biennial budget included the creation of this residential infrastructure fund, which is a program meant to support the construction of infrastructure that increases housing supply in the state of Indiana. It's a program that was developed with a focus on rural areas. So more than half of the available loan dollars were set aside for smaller communities, but larger communities could compete in a smaller share of the program, in which we did apply for a loan through that program. 30% of those funds were set aside for cities with populations larger than 50,000. And so what this would be is a 20-year term low interest loan. So the state would provide funding, and then the city of South Bend would pay the Indiana Finance Authority back those dollars over a 20-year term at a 3.15% interest rate. That rate can change at closing. It's set on I believe, a monthly basis by IFA. But that is at 3.15, which is what it would be today, much lower than the rate of a standard redevelopment bond if we were to issue it, ourselves. So a very low interest loan. As I mentioned, those funds are provided through the IFA's purchase of this bond issuance by the South Bend Redevelopment Commission. The funding would be used for site preparation work and infrastructure work, generally to incentivize residential housing. In this case, it would be for work planned at both the Drury site, which you've already seen a lot of activity at, and then the Portage Elwood or the Elwood Shopping Plaza site, which the Redevelopment Commission recently acquired. That is the site that included the original Martin's grocery store, which is now empty. There had been a pharmacy there as well. The vast majority of those storefronts are now empty. There are 2 remaining tenants that are working on their departure plans now. And so what we would anticipate building on both of these sites would be at least 110 new housing units. We think there would be future phases of additional housing, but that's what's contained in our application as part of this loan program. And this loan could be used for a number of activities that we are currently continuing with, which is ongoing environmental remediation. There's some soil removal that may be required at the Drury site, then the construction of public utilities, the demolition of buildings, which would entail the demolition of the Elwood Shopping Plaza Center, and then the construction of additional infrastructure like streets and sidewalks. So the process, we're in the middle of the process now. The Redevelopment Commission has already authorized this, and then that goes to the Common Council for your consideration. If you were to approve this, we would then work to schedule a closing with IFA, and we would start making interest payments within 6 months of that loan closing, estimated $100,000 annually over the first 6 years. Principal payments would then begin 12 months following substantial completion of the project. And in total, the debt service would be $3.57 million over a 20-year period. So our coverage ratio would exceed 250%, a very healthy coverage ratio through the maturity of these bonds. And so we think it makes sense to go forward. Just to locate yourself here, these are the 2 properties in question, the Drury's property and then the Elwood Shopping Center property. As you're aware, there's been a lot of activity on Drury's, both by the EPA and by the city, to clean that site up. Just to walk you through what happened and which partner did what. Originally, when the city took ownership of Drury's, we contacted the EPA because of significant amounts of asbestos-containing demolition debris that existed on that site from the previous property owner's failure to properly mitigate and remediate the asbestos prior to demolition activity of the historic brewery buildings. EPA Region 5 ultimately mobilized and was willing to take that on as a cleanup project. And so EPA expended in the ballpark of $2 million, removing all of that demolition debris and then removing any other known contaminants from the site at that time. So there were things like mercury light switches, smaller environmental hazards that were encountered that EPA removed at that time. Then the site was handed back off to the city of South Bend. And that's when we started what we called phase 1 of the property demolition, which was removing the collapsed buildings. There were a number of buildings that had already had their roofs collapse and were in bad shape. And then since then, phase 2 has been completed, which is the removal of all the other structures, including the bottling house, the remaining building closest to Elwood Avenue. So we're through phase 2. Now we're going into what we're calling phase 3, which involves removal of the foundations. So there are still foundations on this site, and the removal of those foundation removals will require another round of environmental testing because we were not able to test beneath those foundations when structures were on them it can compromise the structural integrity of a foundation to bore through that foundation. Now we'll go back and do additional environmental testing and then remove those foundations. So that is in process. This loan will, those types of removals are eligible for these loan dollars to be used for, as well as for the demolition of the Elwood Shopping Plaza, which we are planning to move forward with later this summer. All that to say, those two pieces are completed, then we're really at a shovel-ready state where we can build the new infrastructure on the site and work with different groups of developers to develop housing on the site. This is a concept plan for what the site could look like. So, we've got Measle Grove Park on the left. There's a low-lying area in the center of the park and the Drury site where actually a pond did exist at one point in the past. We think it could be converted into a little bit of a water feature for the park. And then really activating the rest of the site for housing development with commercial activations on Portage Avenue. So retaining Portage Avenue as a business corridor, seeking new business investment there. Like I said, this is a concept. This is actually a concept that was developed for a federal grant application, the EPA Community Change Grant, which if awarded would have provided $20 million that could have allowed for the build out of all of this infrastructure. Ultimately, that program has been paused from executive action at the federal level. And so while we have not received a denial, I'm not optimistic about an award coming in the immediate future for that program. So we'll really have to take a look at how we phase out the infrastructure development. We won't be able to build it all at once. And so this concept is definitely subject to change as we work to identify developers to build this out. You might be asking, why are we doing the loan for the infrastructure improvement before we have all the developers identified? One is the loan can, again, help us get this site to a shovel-ready state. Two, the Indiana Finance Authority is hoping to move quickly on closing on these loans because they did ask for reauthorization of the program in the new state budget. And so we're hoping to move forward with that. That's why the order of operations on this is a little bit different, but we will later this summer be looking to identify development partners in a formal way for properties related to this site. We had worked with two partners in the scoping of that federal grant, to community development corporations. And so we'll revisit with them, but then also there may be competitive proposal opportunities for other developers to plug into the site because it is a large development area altogether. So as I mentioned, I already took you through the activities up to this point. There will need to be additional work to install infrastructure at the site. We did receive, and we are currently in a tentative approval process for Ready 2.0 Blight and Redevelopment funds, a $3.5 million grant award from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. For those on the Redevelopment Commission, you've already heard me say this, but we have never experienced an award not materialize into a contract. However, we are waiting for that contract to be signed, drafted and then signed by the state of Indiana. So we're in the middle of the process at this time, but that would provide $3.5 million on a reimbursement basis that could also be used to cover the infrastructure development costs at this site. And this loan does serve as local public match for a portion of those funds, as well as all the other local funds that have been expended in the cleanup of the Drury site count as local public match. So we wouldn't need to deploy any new matching funds to unlock those Ready 2.0 funds. I think I had mentioned the Redevelopment Commission did already consider this. On April 10th, they authorized the resolution with a preliminary determination to issue bonds. And then the final authorization from the commission was approved on April 24th, which would appropriate proceeds of the bond sale to be used for the Drury's project. So this really is, I believe, the final step. This is the final step, Eric. This is the final step in the process. Sorry, we've got a lot of different timelines I'm having trouble keeping track of these days. But if adopted, we would be able to go forward with closing with IFA for the $2.57 million issuance. The maximum interest rate would not exceed 5.5%. As I mentioned today, if we close today, the interest rate would be 3.15%. I don't expect that to change terribly significantly, but the 5.5% maximum is just a little bit of a formality. We would expect it to be in the 3 percentage point range when we close. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Committee members, Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Thank you for the presentation. I already know about this, but I have a question. Will the interest rate remain the same if interest rates fluctuate or anything, or is this a stable?
So it'll be a fixed rate
Fixed,
when we
okay.
close. So
When we
it could
close,
change
okay.
between now and closing, if interest rates change. But yeah, once we close, it will be the same rate over that 20-year term. We've got Matt Eckerly from Baker Tilly here. Matt, if you want to talk about the interest rate environment and what we might see as we head towards closing.
I had that crystal ball. I wouldn't be here today. Good afternoon, Matt Eckerly with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors offices in Indianapolis. As Caleb mentioned, this would be a fixed rate with the state of Indiana. The current rate estimate is 3.15%, and it is subject to a reset, but I wouldn't anticipate a huge swing up or down from that based on what we've seen over the last year with this program. And it is one other thing to point out. It wasn't asked, but just in case, these bonds would be able to be prepaid at the determination of the city if they so desired. So that's an important point as well.
Okay, Mr. Kanajeski.
Yeah, one of the bullet points said that there was 6 million required for public utilities installation. Was that bullet point explaining these funds, whether they be the IFA or the READY, that need to be allocated towards that, or is that a separate area we need to come up with?
And the terminology might not have been perfect there. Right now, the estimate for all infrastructure work would be 6 million. So that includes utilities and street. We expect that might be a little bit higher once we get into higher levels of design, but conceivably at this time, the IFA loan and the READY funds would cover all of the need on the infrastructure side. Now, that doesn't include if there is incentive necessary for, say, affordable housing development that's part of the overall project, any incentive that needs to be deployed into the capital stack of a development, but it would cover generally the infrastructure as it's currently estimated.
How was the estimate came up developed?
Preliminary design from Abbott Marsh for for a portion of the infrastructure, the portion that would serve the 110 houses committed in this application.
Okay, and then on the 2.57 million from the IFA, that interest starts accumulating immediately upon taking out the loan, not upon its use?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, the interest starts accumulating at closing on the bonds. So
On the full amount?
yeah, on the full amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a question.
If you were to issue less.
I'll get there, Mr. Gray. Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
Uh,
He was just saying, this is authorizing the maximum borrowing amount. It's, possible that between now and closing, the determination is made, well, maybe we only need 2,470,000. You'd only pay interest on what you actually close on.
Okay. I'd just say that's my only concern between if we're looking at 6 million just on infrastructure improvements, I mean, 2.57 from the IFA, I don't know, what was the READY? It was under 3 million for the READY. It just, to get the shovel ready, we could be looking at 7 or 8 million.
3.5 from READY.
Yeah. But just to get it shovel ready between remediation and utilities, we're looking at 7, 8 million.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mr. Gray.
I had a question for Caleb. Back in the picture that you had of the Drury site, in the lower right corner, there was a sliver of industrial property still there. Does the city have any intention to purchase that? Or do you plan on keeping that industrial as is as you go through this project?
We don't have any agreements related to that property at this time, but I think we'd be open to entertaining conversations with the owner. But I don't think it's contingent on that property for the overall redevelopment to happen, if that makes sense. We can work around it.
It does make sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bolden Simpson, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. I think I have a simple question because I was concerned about these interest rates and with things being so volatile, how far are we to closing? How many days?
Pretty quick, couple
Close as early as next month.
Yeah, we would be closing, I think, within 60 days from your authorization. So I think if IFA had their way, they would want to close tomorrow. We'll work to schedule a closing that works for our teams, but that just involves coordination of our legal counsel, Baker Tilly, IFA, and our team. So we'll work to close as quickly as we can.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other committee members, any council members?
I just want to say thank you for your presentation. And this has been something we've been long anticipating over there in the first and second district at that Drury site and at Martin's Plaza. When you talk about developers, do we have any local developers that we're considering using or who are the developers that we're looking to be a part of this project?
So as part of the federal grant that we had applied for, we had, at that time, that grant proposal included both South Bend Heritage Foundation and Intend Indiana, which Intend is doing a construction project in South Bend, both nonprofit community development corporations. We need to revisit the scope with them, but then because of the way this project has changed and we don't have that scale of federal funds, we'll need to think about what makes sense as far as bringing other developers into the project. And so we would look likely later this summer to have a little bit more of a formalized process seeking proposals to slot into areas of this development.
With 100 and so properties, will they all be pretty much cookie cutter the same, or will it be different types of designs?
So in our concept, we showed a mix of, we had a couple apartment buildings, so smaller scale apartment buildings, thinking, 15, 20 unit walk-up buildings. But the majority of the site was single family homes and duplexes. I would envision that fitting well with the general neighborhood character near that area. So we're not looking at very high density multifamily, looking at a little bit more of the neighborhood scale. And so that's something we'd like to see from proposals. But again, this is a little unusual in that we're seeking the infrastructure funding before we have development agreements to bring, but we will be looking to line those up. And really the overall principles of the administration in this overall redevelopment, very similar to other projects we've brought before you, is we're looking for ultimately mixed income and potentially mixed ownership type projects. So that would be affordable housing and market rate housing, potentially also some income qualified workforce housing, middle, kind of the moderate income sliver. And then we would like to mix both home ownership and rental properties in. We think that is, and as you've seen us with the Rabbi Shulman block, that's been a principle there. And that's something here with Drury's. That's really been a desire from neighbors as we've engaged over the years to see a mix of housing types and a mix of incomes in this neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll open it up to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak on bill number 2528, resolution approving TIF revenue bonds, in person or online?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak on the bill.
Thank you. With that, I'll bring it back to the committee. I made this comment at Redevelopment Commission, and I'll just kind of echo it. I think this has been a long time coming. Goes back to the previous mayor and administration, just getting control of the property of Drury's and then slowly being able to take the steps, get the APA in, get some of the buildings down. There's still more work to be done there. This is just another one of many, many steps, and getting it kind of shovel ready, getting the shopping center down and the rest of the foundations out. And, we're not going to see houses next year or probably even in 2 or 3 years, but this is one of those steps, and we continue to take the steps to rebuild that neighborhood and put houses and apartments and a grocery store and things back in that area. And it's kind of a good way to sum it up. Any other comments? Okay. Can I have a motion?
528 go to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for a favorable. Clerk Toronto, can you please do a roll call vote for us?
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Citizen Member Kane Kujeski,
Aye.
Citizen Member Thomas Gripe,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
6 ayes.
And we'll go to 7 p.m. with a favorable recommendation. Excuse me. And with that, we will move on to Bill 2530. Mr. Molnar, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, committee members. Joe Molnar, Assistant Director of Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. Before you today is a multifamily real property tax abatement for property located at Marion and Leland intersection. You saw this tax abatement 2 weeks ago, so I'll be a little more brief than I was the time before. But the property is located in the near northwest neighborhood, just northwest of downtown. On the zoom in map to the right, the blue outline is the entire project area for all the Allen Edwin redevelopment properties that would be seeing a tax abatement. Just some context, this is what the block looked like in 1972. So a very dense single-family block with multiple duplexes and single-family scattered in. And then today, that same block now losing, a significant amount of the housing stock, which is pretty standard for that neighborhood. The neighborhood as a whole has lost about half of its population since 1960, and we know the downside effects of that being, less customers for local businesses, less students enrolled in our schools, and generally less tax revenue also generated on those parcels. So all in all, we want to help make sure that we're putting people back into these neighborhoods in a way that's beneficial for everybody. And we think that this project certainly meets that criteria. It's a mix of single-family units with a duplex on the corner, as well as a cottage court in the center of the project. And Mr. Gripe, I know that you weren't at council previous time, but you talked about the design of the buildings. So Allen Edwin was able to provide some really good renderings that what we have now. So this is, the character of what these houses will look like. We hope they will be integrated well into the neighborhood, big front porches, where, a very inviting atmosphere using character neighborhood clues for the site. So we think that not only will this be an investment in the neighborhood, but also help with the attractiveness of the overall neighborhood.
Very nice.
I was hoping you'd like it. So for the confirming resolution, the same details that were provided 2 weeks ago, but 16 new housing units. The project will consist of multiple versions of housing types, and 12 of those 16 units with an agreement with the city must be affordable to those making less than $120,000 120% of the area median income. We talked about before, just south of this site, Advantix Development Corporation is building housing that must be affordable to those making under 80% of the area median income. So it's very nice having this mix of incomes being built right in the same neighborhood, which we think is an attractive to both projects. The total investment is approximately $2.5 million and will help activate long vacant land and provide needed options for residents of South Bend, as well as some job opportunities for the construction of the units. And Allen Edwin has committed to using as much local labor as possible. Here is a map of the trade partners that they work with currently, and we're hoping to grow that map as they do more projects in South Bend. But you can see even here, there's a good consideration of partners in the city limits. The actual numbers, even though the project is owned by the Redevelopment Commission, so essentially it's paying $0 in taxes now. If it was held by a private party, that would be about $816 in taxes on the vacant lots. The estimated annual taxes after the project is completed is a little over $35,000. During the 9-year abatement period that the project qualified for, the total estimated taxes would be around $322,000, with $189,000 of those being abated and $133,000 being paid. Over a 10-year period, approximately $170,000 of taxes will be paid on the project compared to just $8,000 without the project, and that's not even considering that it's currently city land. After 20 years, that goes up to over $500,000 compared to just $16,000 if the property would remain vacant. Now, that is the details of the project. Brian Farkas from Allen Edwin is here as well. He can provide any further details. Thank you.
Welcome back, Mr. Farkas.
Thank you.
Anything to add?
We're very excited to get started with this project. As I said last time, I'm very passionate about these types of deals we're doing, and so we're excited.
Okay. Many members, any questions that have arisen since 2 weeks ago? Mr. Kandrzewski.
Just a couple quick questions. Is the funding on this all private? It's not tied to, it's not up in the air, it's all secured?
Yeah.
And then 2, is there adequate parking in your mind? I know there's no requirement for parking on these sort of projects.
Yeah, so if you look at the slide right here, you'll see there's parking along the side of it. And we think that's adequate along with the street parking. If you've been on that area, the city looks like they've done a lot of investment in the streetscape. And so I think this is going to fit extremely well in this neighborhood.
How
We've
many
got-
spaces is that roughly?
Off the top of my head, that rendering is pretty accurate. So counting real quickly, I'd say probably 12 to 15 on site.
Thank you. And then all funding secure, this isn't relying on,
No, we've got city funding, but it's all secured and approved. The financing to start the project is already in place. And so once we close on the property in July, we intend to start moving dirt the next day. We're going to be moving very quickly on this.
thank you.
Yep.
That's the question I was going to ask about parking
Okay.
and thank you for addressing that.
Question.
Yeah.
Any council members in person or online?
Nope, just want to say thank you again in the first district. We're very excited about all this housing that's coming our way. That area has been forgotten about and lost, and it's good to see it being reactivated.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll open it up to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak on Bill 2530?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak on the bill.
Okay, we'll bring it back to committee members. Any final comments? If that, we got another thank you. And with that, I would take a motion.
Make a motion that resolution 2530 be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second. We have a motion and a second for a favorable. Clerk Toronto, can you please do a roll call vote for us?
Committee Member Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Committee Member Gooden Rogers. Citizen Member Thomas Gripe.
Aye.
Citizen Member Kane Konjeski.
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner.
Aye.
6 ayes.
Bill 2530 will go to 7 p.m. with a favorable recommendation. And with that, the Community Investment Committee is adjourned for this afternoon. And we finished 1 minute early before zoning and annexation.
the zoning and annexation committee to me?
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember
I
Warner,
meant Present. Still aye.
Citizen Member Henry Davis Jr., Citizen Member Stacy Odom,
Present.
Committee Vice Chair Thomas Morgan, Committee Chair Dr. Davis. We have a quorum.
We'd like to hear bill number 1925.
Skip Morrell, Principal Development Planner with offices on the 14th floor of this building. This first bill deals with 906, 912, 914, and 918 Dubale Avenue, as well as 1703, 1705, and 1711 Dale Avenue. The special exception is a request to allow 2-unit dwellings on each of these lots that are currently zoned U1, Urban Neighborhood 1. This is the site as it exists now. This is a fairly large area of vacant land. And here is the proposal you'll see shows kind of the aerial view as well as the elevation view. The proposal is to build a number of the pre-approved South Bend duplexes, so side-by-side duplexes as well as stacked duplexes, and then a narrow house on the end. This project, of course, features newly constructed duplexes, as well as single-family units that are kind of consistent with the built form of the surrounding neighborhood that match in and complement the existing housing stock. This request is consistent with Objective H1 from the South Bend Comprehensive Plan to encourage residential developments that contain a mix of housing types, densities, price ranges, and amenities. And this comes to you from the Board of Zoning Appeals with a favorable recommendation.
Okay. Are there any questions from the committee or our council members for Mr. Skip? If not, we'll go ahead and hear the presenter. Please state your name and address and share your thoughts. Who rode up with me on the elevator? Hey.
Yes, indeed. My name is David, last name Njoroge, 3131 Springbrook. We're excited to bring this project to the corner of Dale and Dubale. I've been active in the 46613 zip code, so I'm familiar with the area. I currently have 2 units under construction just across from the lots. So yeah, again, we're excited to bring this project to the neighborhood. Yep. Yeah, thank you.
The other 2 units going for you?
How many?
How are the other units going for you? How are they doing for?
Oh, okay. Yes, they're doing well. The structures are up. They're currently doing drywall on one of the units. So hopefully, one is under contract. So hopefully, once we finish, we can get it closed and then hopefully move on to the next to the next phase of this. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments for? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Councilman Warner.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime we're putting things on empty lots, that's very exciting, right?
Yep.
What's the timeline do you have for starting, and kind of you do one at a time here, and when would you have, kind of what would the timeline look like of getting going, and how many at once and finishing up?
So some of that will depend on the incentives, but the plan hopefully this summer, but most likely we'll start with 1711, the one at the corner. So for now we'll do one at a time, but depending on what happens with the water and sewer tap, because that's engineering will not let me put one tap. So that changed my math as far as doing it all at once. So for now, I'll start with the one at the corner. I think it's 1711 Dale, and then I'll evaluate and move on from there once I have a viable path forward. Part of it is because it's, the zip code. I have to be careful and go step by step because I also want the project to be successful. So I don't want
Absolutely.
to overextend myself. So yes, so to answer your question, for now, hoping to start on 1711 Dale this summer, and then we'll go from there.
That's a great answer. Thanks.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments? You have,
Just want to say thank you. I tend to drive through that area a lot
Okay.
and just the work that 466 Works have done is
Yes.
really changing the nature and the culture of that community over there. So it's nice to have you to be one of the developers as well.
Yes, they've been
Mhm.
helpful in establishing
Good.
a market. So yes, I'm fortunate the timing worked well. And yep.
I thought I saw President Sleep there.
Yeah, so uh, it looks like you have a line of property. So for each one there, you have to, you can't tap one for two of the properties. You have to do individual taps. Is that right?
Yes, so so for each lot, so for each green unit, I have to tap at least once. What was a surprise was for the side by side, I have to do, each unit has to have its own tap. So that was more of a surprise. But having said that, I think, it's a manageable program. I know the city has the sewer lateral program. So that's one of the things we would look at, and as far as trying to manage that risk. But yes, to answer your question, the side by side would actually be two taps for each unit.
Okay.
And then the stacked duplex and the single family house at the corner, that would be one tap to the street. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you just spell your last name?
Njoroge. The N is silent, so so Njoroge. Yeah. Or spell it, not pronounce it. Okay. And Njoroge. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I saw thoughts going through your heads. Y'all
Yep.
good?
Councilmember McBride,
Yes.
is that you?
She has one?
I believe this is
Yes,
her
it is.
online.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Mhm.
Thank you. I just want to say I drove by that development and I'm excited to see work happening on that side of Miami Street in the 3rd District. So I'm excited about the project. Thank you.
All righty.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to hear from a councilwoman there. Any others? If not, then we are opening up now for public comment. We would like to hear those in the public would like to speak in favor. And if you're in the presently with us or online, please share your thoughts, please.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Then we will move to those in opposition. Those in opposition who are in the audience here or online, please share your name and your thoughts.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition of the bill.
Then we will close the public hearing and we'll come back to our council committee for any final thoughts or recommendation on this particular bill, which is bill number 2527.
I'll make a
Excuse
motion.
me, 1925.
I'll make a motion to send 1925 forward with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Can we take the roll, please?
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Citizen Member Stacy Odom,
Aye.
Committee Chair Dr. Davis.
Aye,
4 ayes.
that's great. We would now move to bill number 2425.
Good evening, committee.
Good evening.
Tim Staub, zoning analyst or zoning specialist with offices on the 14th floor. So tonight, we're going to be reviewing the petition for a special exception from 1702 Western Avenue to permit a restaurant use within the Urban Flex District. So here's kind of an aerial view of it. It's right across the street from the Goodwill. The property is a retail building, fronting Western with an empty space as indicated by the paper in the window. It is fronting, like I said, it's fronting Western and is within the 6th district. This restaurant would fill the space and increase the hours of activity around the property and entrance and enhance the neighborhood. Such space is consistent with the zoning around it and the city plan objective for land use 2.2. Pursue a mix of land uses along major corridors and other locations defined by the future land use map. So there's kind of how it's going to be laid out. Oh, there we go. So based on the information provided, the Board of Zoning Appeals sends this petition to the Common Council with a favorable recommendation with the condition that all improvements to bring the building and the site up to zoning compliance are completed within 6 months of approval. This includes appropriate landscaping and street trees. So.
Questions from my committee or council members? Go ahead, Councilwoman White.
When I look at that, property, is it just one side
Yeah, it's so
Itself
it's
is
the
the
use
other
is going to be on the
on this side over
on the left
here?
side. Yeah.
What type of restaurant? or
I believe it will be an ice cream shop.
Ice cream, okay.
Other questions? You seem like you have one. Go ahead.
If I'm seeing this correctly, those are residents.
Right behind on the both.
Yeah, on the left and the right.
Residential, yes. So
Okay. But that other business was there already.
yes.
Okay.
It's right on the street. Right behind it, a lot of houses.
Boost.
Mhm.
I was looking at Boost Mobile. Boost Mobile.
Yeah,
Yes.
Boost Mobile's been there, and Boost Mobile's going to continue to be there.
That's correct. We have another one. Stacy Owen.
Yeah, why is it only 6 months?
So that's usually standard. That's usually standard whenever we're conditioning just the special exception to move it or to bring it up to compliance. And it's mostly to do with just the landscaping and the street trees. So
So if the inside isn't done, they will have more time?
the inside wouldn't, whatever happens on the inside is zoning.
Separate?
Is separate. It's
Okay.
it's basically we're looking at everything from on the outside. So
Okay.
You have another one?
I just want
Go
one
ahead,
question.
please.
Okay, so do, someone from your office will go back and to inspect to make sure the work is done?
oh yeah, we usually will swing through
Swing,
the
okay.
places, judge.
Okay, it's
and
good
make
to
sure.
hear. I didn't know that. Okay, thanks.
I believe someone online had a question.
Anybody else? Online, there's a question, another councilwoman?
Councilmember Nisgowsky has a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. My question is, with the, with this being for a special exemption for a restaurant, if this building is sold and you have two businesses out of each side, and they wanted to put something like a convenience store in there, would that be granted under this restaurant permit? Or would that be another special exemption to do that?
That would be a different use and
Skip Morrell, Principal Development Planner, offices on the 14th floor of this building. The restaurant use wouldn't allow for a convenience store. I will note that back in 2023, the building on the right side did receive a special exception for retail space, allowing that Boost Mobile to be located there, which would allow for sort of general retail, including a convenience store. that is distinct from other uses. For example, like a tobacco or vape shop would require a different sort of approval, special exception, so that wouldn't be permitted by right here.
Any other
Okay,
questions?
thank you.
Is that answer?
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none at this time, we will open it up for public hearing. We'd like for those in the, oh, do we have a presenter? Sorry. I'm sorry, Attorney Masters, jumping the gun. All righty, go for it, Attorney Masters, with your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
You're welcome.
Good evening, and committee members, citizen members. I'm Bob Masters. I'm here in my professional capacity on behalf of A&M Wireless. My law office is at 350 Columbia Street in South Bend. Personally speaking, I'm a resident of Coquilliard Woods, 1906 East Madison Street in South Bend. The building is zoned Urban Flex, or UF. In an Urban Flex zoning district, a restaurant use is allowed but requires a special exception. We presented our petition to the Board of Zoning Appeals last Monday, May the 5th. It received by unanimous vote a favorable recommendation. There are 4 criteria to consider when any special use is before this body. The first 2 focus on the threat of injury to the surrounding properties, as well as, I suppose, the community at large. The second 2 are quite the opposite. They focus on the suitability of the property itself, as well as its fit within a sort of a general plan for the city. This building, before A&M Wireless purchased it, had been, I believe, a hair salon. So it had been a form of retail use for some time. I think that hair salon was there for quite some time. And actually on where we're looking here on this map, to the left side, which I suppose would be the east side of Pulaski Street, is one of my dad's all-time favorite restaurants, the Louvre Door. So this particular stretch of West Western has seen restaurant uses before.
Okay.
I expect to have Jesse Singh with me at 7 o'clock. Jesse Singh is the owner of A&M Wireless. He has a vested interest in this building because A&M Wireless owns both the building and the Boost Mobile franchise. So he has a personal stake in ensuring that this is a successful project. The idea here, the proposed tenant, is an ice cream shop, particularly Mexican-American ice cream. There may be some non-ice cream items offered for sale, but they would be ones, I think, prepared off-site and brought in. So churros, for example, or sort of handheld foods. This particular area of Western, I think, is right at the threshold of where Western really begins. It always strikes me as somewhat incongruous with the neighborhoods we want to develop when you see the Goodwill Supercenter parking lot and then the Marycrest building. But I understand, 100 years ago, several hundred people were going to work every day in those buildings. I think this would be an attractive addition to the neighborhood, more probably in fitting with the western portion of Western Avenue. I think it perhaps suggests that the growth one has seen on Western is maybe extending its way more eastward. I'd ask you to send this to the council as a whole with the favorable recommendation. It's nice to see everyone. I've not had a chance to be in front of you in a professional capacity for a while, and I find myself thinking, when I talk to people about South Bend, I tell them this, crime's going down and construction rates are going up. So I thank you for your time and for all the good you're doing.
Thank you. I had a smile there when you said you'd be working with Jesse Singh tonight. I thought you were going to do a duet for us. And so I had to catch myself there. I hear you. No problem. The first thought hit my head. That's why I smiled at you. All righty. Do you have any questions for our presenter? Any questions? I think it's a good area for us to go for. So now we will open it up now to our public. Okay, for those who'd like to speak in favor, please share your thoughts. Either can come forth or share your thoughts online.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
For those who'd like to speak in opposition, please do likewise.
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition of the bill.
We will close the public hearing and then we'll go to back to our council committee. And what are your thoughts and your recommendations?
Like to make the recommendation unless someone has comments to make.
I'm at peace. I'm really excited about it.
Okay,
and,
I am too. It's close to the park as well.
I'm over there all the time, so that's fine.
Favorable, a recommendation for Bill 2425 to be sent to the committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation.
You got a motion second? Can we please have the roll?
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Citizen Member Stacy Odom,
Aye.
Committee Chair Dr. Davis,
Aye.
4 ayes.
4 ayes. We look forward to seeing you tonight and we thank you for this project. Have a good one. And we will now commence our zoning annexation committee.
Then, sorry, I just wanted to share a quick note. Sorry,
yeah.
this outside of the
Like,
zone.
We're already done.
I just wanted to
I'm
share
just
with
kidding
you,
with you.
May 23rd is gonna be my last day working with the city. So I just wanted to let you know, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to work with you all and to see all the great work going on in South Bend. Yeah. I'll be headed out to Ohio State to pursue an MBA with a specialization in real estate with the long-term plan of coming back to South Bend and doing work here. So, thank you.
You know, I
Thank
can't
you.
argue about it. I can't argue about it. You know, being
Go
the
Bucks.
I can't argue about it. I see what you're doing. Just come on back home.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Skip.
And good luck.
He already got his first degree there.
You got to promise to come back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's good. I've enjoyed working with him. Right. Who's next? This community. Thank you. Thank you.
Look, Toronto, you ready?
He's gonna be missed. School comes 5:30, 25.
Citizen member, if you will come.
Alice.
Yep, you can come sit, take.
We'll now call the community relations meeting to order. Clerk Toronto.
Committee Member Niskoski,
Present.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Present.
Citizen Member Alice Pickens, Committee Vice Chair White,
Present.
Committee Chair Gooden Rogers,
Present.
5 ayes.
So this afternoon, we're here to vote on the substitute bill 2529. And I'm gonna read it.
Read the title?
Mhm.
Okay. Bill number 2529, resolution establishing the terms of the initial members of the Community Police Review Board. There is a substitute that was filed.
So on this, with that, Bob, do you need to explain what the substitute was? Okay. Can we get someone to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the substitute bill.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, all those in favor?
There's no one online. so we're
Okay.
good.
Did you say something?
There's no roll needed because everyone's in person to
Okay.
accept the substitute.
So basically what this is doing is just establishing the terms for each of the members that were appointed to the board. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so all we need to do is just accept that these are the terms for each of these individuals that have volunteered to take up their time and serve on that board. And that just makes it official on the term for each individual.
But I have a question to that, because we did not have the names. Do we need the names read of the, we don't? So just because they're listed, they weren't listed before, so now they are listed, so we don't need to do nothing but just accept the bill. Okay, so I need a motion for Bill 25.
I just want to make a
to have a
comment.
25, 29 be accepted.
Question for, so I think we're also, is there a new name in here, a new appointee too?
Hughes and my appointee was a new one because I had the first lady couldn't finish her.
So we've got the 5th District, Roxanne Hughes appointed, but we're still with one vacancy left. Do we have a timetable on when that vacancy will be appointed?
We need to have that appointment done in 30 days.
Thursday's okay.
And what is that vacancy?
That's the at-large district. Dr. Davis. Yeah. So we got to get that individual seated.
Okay, because we're hamstringing that board with not having all 9 present, so anything we can do to get that seated quicker.
Chair, I think you got a question.
Just waiting to be acknowledged by you. Thank you, Council Committee Chair. I have a question, and I don't know if it's appropriate now. Y'all just tell me. One of my, it was difficult to find someone, and I've written this, it's the time commitment, particularly the, what is it called? The citizen part, because because they can't do the ride along until that's done.
That's true.
Is there anything we can, that's when my first person backed out. And then when and my understanding is the ride along is required.
It's more than one. Yeah.
More than one ride along, but you have to do the Citizen Academy before you can even do one. So maybe someone knows how long is this?
What do you
Like
mean, how
the
long?
police academy, how long does that take?
What is it, 9 weeks, 6 weeks? It's about 9 weeks, ain't it?
2 hours per week, 3 hours?
I've done it and I cannot remember how long of a commitment it was. I think, so we can find that out. We can find that information out.
We could find that out.
Just to be
Yeah.
helpful when you ask someone to do this, they want to know the time commitment. Fortunately, I found someone that was kind of open. Okay. Very grateful for her, Ms. Hughes. Mrs. Hughes.
Okay.
Anyone else? Did it answer your question?
Well, we're going to get the
Okay. we'll
the
get back with that.
information.
Okay.
That's what we'll do.
Anyone else?
Just a point of clarification for Councilmember Warner, is there any other avenue to speed up this last vacancy? Is there anything else that we can do under the ordinance, or is it strictly, it has to come from, because he's at large, so it can be anybody in the city, correct?
It could, yes, the ordinance just says they have to be appointed by resolution. Now, so far to this point, we have, and that they have to come from each district, and then we have give deference to each council member so that they have an appointee, but there could be a resolution done You know, it would still have to be passed and everything, but
Just for the one person.
for that one slot,
Okay.
yes.
So
And I think Councilwoman Gooden Rogers, you had somebody who wanted to be appointed.
Yes, I have someone that want to move up out of one position into an at-large position. But they just waiting to hear from the at-large person to make the appointment, to make the move. So what can we do to get that?
Well, that will be a decision that we'd have to have a conversation with Dr. Davis on.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
with that being said,
Public portion.
public hearing.
so we need to do the public portion now. Is there anyone in the public that's wish to speak in favor?
Yes, please go to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, Bob Masters, professional address at 350 Columbia Street, personal address 19060 East Madison Street. I did not come here tonight for this item. I came here for your prior committee hearing in my professional capacity representing an applicant for special use exemption. I am, however, counsel to the Community Police Review Board. I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you, when we talk as a board, we talk of you as our bosses. And we take very seriously the tasks with which you've tasked us to be a sounding board for citizen complaints. And I'd like to recognize the work that our board members are putting in. Councilmember Bolden Simpson, you're exactly right. There's 12 hours of ride-alongs that have to be completed, but first you have to complete the Citizen Police Academy. These are civilian volunteers who draw no salary nor no stipend for the work they do. And just to name some names, you have Cheryl Ash, Luella Webster, some of the most committed public service we have in this community. The terms that are before you, I can say each member of the review board was asked to express an interest about his or her term. And I reviewed this matter before I came over here today. It looks like Pastor King, the director of the review office, has recommended each board member's preferred term. So I don't think it would come as a surprise to our board to see this action tonight. I think the best thing that you all can do for us is to staff us up with 9 members.
Okay.
We have an obligation to close complaints, and it requires 5 votes to close a complaint. When we have 5 members come or 6 members, we're effectively tasked with obtaining a super majority vote. If we had 9 active members, it would be a simple majority vote. We recognize at our last meeting on the 1st of May, we went through all of the 2024 citizen complaints.
That's right.
In one night, we took care of an entire year's worth of business that citizens and you, our bosses, had asked us to do. We're meeting again this coming Thursday, although there may not be much business to get through because I think we surprised ourselves by how much we got through last week. So I'm here just by chance because I was here for another matter. But someone once told me that if you have a chance to make someone look good in front of their bosses, do it. So my board members always look at you and say, well, what do our bosses want us to do? What did our bosses task us with? And I'd like to say that our board is doing it, and I thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So do you, Clerk Toronto, you see anybody wish to speak against?
Well, I do not see anyone else from the public in person or online that wishes to speak in favor. And I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
With that being in mind, we'll come back to the council.
Yeah, I would, so Pastor King, Mr. Masters, Pastor King was here maybe 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and I told him this, and I'm going to kind of repeat it for your benefit also. So I think all of us, all the 9 council members, I don't speak for 9 very much. We're all very different people, but at the time this bill was passed, I think all 9 of us then expected changes that needed to be made as the process was set up and got going and things. And I think those of us that are still here that passed this as well as the 2, we we are very open and expect any kind of changes to the ordinance that we need to make this more efficient, more effective, whether that's that supermajority number for a complaint or not. At least we can consider that, but to be able to do that, we need feedback from Pastor King and leadership of the board on any of those ordinance changes. There was a lot of debate at the time about training and whether that was too much training. That when we passed the ordinance 3 years ago now, whether we were putting too much on volunteers. So maybe we revisit that. There's potentially we could visit a stipend for these folks. No, I understand the great amount of time, especially up and going and getting it moving in the training, and whether that might be helpful with attendance or things like that. So if at some point you and Pastor King talk that through, and we will make an amendment. For us, it's hard to make any kind of changes to the ordinance or amending the ordinance without getting some feedback from the folks that are actually using it on the ground day to day. So,
Anyone else?
I would just like to say that to the attorney, I've heard very positive feedback in regards to how the board is coming together and dealing with, some of the issues or concerns, because this is new as well. And as Councilmember Warner has stated, when we were coming together to really develop this resolution, we did have those discussions. Is it too much? And we wanted to make sure that once the review board really came into existence, that we had as much in it as possible. Because there were some concerns about whether or not this was needed or, so again, thank you for your time as well. And then you can share with the board, our sentiments as well.
Anyone else? Well, I'd like to say that I've been trying to come to I've been to a couple of the meetings, and it really does look like the Police Review Board is really trying to work hard and get things done. So I'm sure this council appears more than willing to work with you in anything that you need. So with that being in mind, can I entertain a motion?
Let's see. Okay. So a substitute. Okay, I make a motion that
Bill 25.
substitute bill 2529 would go to the committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. The resolution, I'm sorry, it just goes to the full council. Substitute bill 2529. I'll second that resolution.
We've got a second. I didn't hear it. Second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do roll call. Okay. So Clerk Toronto, you're gonna do the roll call.
Committee Member Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Citizen Member Alice Marie Pickens,
Aye.
Committee Chair Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
all ayes.
Meeting's now joined.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna call informal. Just for our agenda for tonight, we will have invocation. It won't be Pastor Scott Smith, but it'll be an associate minister from Southside Baptist Church. Pledge, roll call, reports for subcommittees on subcommittee on minutes from April 28th. Special business is a special resolution recognizing Amy Hill. Then we'll go to committee of the whole. We have 1, 2, 3 bills in committee of the whole. And 3 on third readings, and 1, 4 resolutions, and 1 bill for first reading, unfinished business, new business, privilege of the floor. We look forward to seeing everybody at 7 o'clock. There is, for council members, there is there is food in the back. Thank you. See you at 7.
Time that great.